The delivery guy who stuck around, an Australian story. No one wanted to care for the millionaire tetraplegic until a battler delivery driver showed up. When the job advertisement promised double the pay to look after a special patient, dozens of applicants turned up at the elegant estate in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, or a similar affluent area. One by one, they all ran out after just a few minutes, chased out by the woman who greeted them with shouting and the harshest insults. It was exactly at that moment that Jackson Jax Miller parked his scooter outside the imposing gate. He was only there to drop off a Uber Eats order, but through the window, he saw another carer hastily leaving the house, shaking his head in despair. Curiosity took over when he overheard the housekeeper mention to the gatekeeper that this was the 10th applicant that week. The woman in question was Adriana Villarreal, a 50-year-old property mogul who had lost all movement from the neck down after a terrible accident on the Pacific Highway 2 years prior. Her reputation in the region was terrible. No one could work with her for more than a few days. Shouts would echo through the Villarreal mansion as she fired qualified professionals with insults about social class, physical appearance, and professional competence. Jax watched through the wrought iron fence while waiting for someone to collect the delivery. At 35, he'd been a delivery driver for 4 years since losing his job in the construction industry. Life hadn't been easy. He supported his widowed mother, who suffered from diabetes and needed expensive Medibank private prescriptions, and helped his younger sister with her university fees. When the housekeeper finally appeared at the gate, Jax couldn't hold back. "Excuse my curiosity, Mom, but were all those people leaving here for the job inside?" The middle-aged woman, who introduced herself as Kylie, sighed heavily. "They were applicants to look after the boss. But nobody lasts a full day, mate. The poor dear is very resentful about her situation. And what kind of care does she need?" "Everything, son. Feeding, personal hygiene, meds. She can't move anything below her neck, but her temper has been shocking since the accident." Jax handed over the order, but something inside him couldn't forget the conversation. On his way back home, he passed the Villarreal estate again and saw another car speeding away. It was well past 8 p.m. and another attempt had failed. That night, he talked to his mother about the family's tight finances. "Mum, the meds are getting pricier, and the scooter needs urgent repairs. If I don't find an extra income, I don't know how we'll manage." Misus. Mercedes Miller, a 8-year-old, took her son's hand. "My boy, you already do so much for us. The man upstairs will open a door, you can be sure of that." It was then that Jax made a decision that would completely change his life. The next morning, he went back to the Villarreal estate and rang the bell. Kylie recognized him immediately. "The young bloke from the delivery yesterday. What are you doing here so early?" "I'd like to apply for the carer position for your boss." The housekeeper's eyes widened in surprise. "Son, you have no idea what you're talking about. Just yesterday, 2 registered nurses left here who couldn't handle even 2 hours. Still, I'd like to give it a go. I really need this job." Kylie hesitated, but something in the young man's determination convinced her to at least mention it to the boss. A few minutes later, she returned. "She'll see you, but she warned it will be quick." "Are you sure you want to go in?" Jax's heart raced, but he nodded firmly. The residence inside was even more imposing than it looked from the outside. Marble floors, expensive artworks on the walls, and fine Tasmanian oak furniture in every room. Kylie led him to a large lounge, where a hospital bed and various medical equipment had been set up. That's when he saw her for the first time. Adriana Villarreal was sitting in a modern wheelchair with safety straps across her chest and waist. Her blonde hair was neatly kept, and she wore a white silk blouse. Despite her situation, you could still tell she had been a very beautiful woman, but her blue eyes showed a coldness and bitterness that froze the atmosphere. "So, you're the next brave soul who thinks they can put up with me," she said with a cutting voice, without even looking at him directly. "Good morning, Mrs. Villarreal. My name is Jackson Miller. I came to inquire about the carer vacancy." She finally lifted her gaze and examined him from head to toe with disdain. "Look at you, cheap. Stubby shorts, worn-out blundstones, poorly cut hair. Do you really think you're qualified to look after someone?" Jax felt his face burn, but he kept calm. "You're right about my appearance, but I have the willingness to learn and work with dedication." "Dedication," she scoffed. "The last person who said that left here crying when I asked him to help me shower. Do you have any training in this area?" "I don't have a specific certificate, but I looked after my nan for the last 2 years of her life. She needed special care too." "Your nan?" Adriana raised her voice. "I am not your ignorant nan, I need a qualified professional, not some Aussie bloke delivery driver who thinks he can do everything." A heavy silence filled the room. Kylie watched tensely, expecting Jax to leave like all the others, but he remained firm in his spot. "You are right to be suspicious of me. I really don't have professional experience in this field, but I have something that perhaps the others didn't. I really need this job." "Ah, right. Another one trying to take advantage of my situation for an easy buck. It's not easy money, Mrs. Villarreal. Caring for someone is never easy, but I would do my absolute best, because this opportunity would mean everything to my family." Adriana stared at him in silence for a few seconds, as if processing something different in that answer. "And what would you do differently from the others?" Jax thought for a moment before answering. "I would treat you like a person, not a problem to be solved." These words provoked something unexpected in Adriana. For the first time in months, she didn't immediately yell at an applicant. "Kylie, get a chair for this applicant." The housekeeper obeyed quickly, still surprised by the turn of events. "You said you cared for your nun. What did she pass away from?" "She had a stroke and was bedridden for 2 years. I helped Mum with the daily care." "And why are you working as a food delivery driver instead of a carer?" "Because I need immediate income, and carer opportunities are scarce. Most families want certified professionals." Adriana remained pensive for a few minutes. Kylie was clearly nervous, expecting the explosion that usually happened at this point in the interviews. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, take a moment to hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. That helps us so much, especially those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. "All right, I'm going to make you a proposal, Jackson Miller." The young man felt his heart pound. "Will you work here for a week unpaid?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "Exactly what you heard. If you manage to stick with me for 7 full days without running off or giving up, then we'll talk about hiring. If you quit before then, you get nothing and never show your face here again." Kylie gasped. She had never witnessed such an unusual proposal. But Mrs. Villarreal silence. "Kylie, let the young man decide." Jax knew a week without pay would be tough on his finances, but he also sensed this was his only real chance at the job. "I accept the proposal." "Excellent. You start tomorrow at 6 a.m. Kylie will explain your basic routine. And just to be clear, I'm going to do everything possible to make you quit. I will test every one of your limits until I find when you break." "Understood." "I doubt it. But at least you've been warned. You can go now. Kylie, see him out." When they left the lounge, the housekeeper took Jax by the arm worriedly. "Son, you have no idea what you've just agreed to. She's a deeply suffering person, but she's impossible to deal with." "What exactly happened to her?" Kylie looked around to make sure they weren't overheard. 2 years ago, she had a terrible car accident. She was hospitalized for months, and when she came home, she found out the company was almost bankrupt and that many close people only wanted to take advantage of her situation. And the family, the kids only show up here when they need money. She feels abandoned by everyone. That's why she treats anyone trying to help like dirt." "I understand. And what would my basic routine be?" "Arrive at 6 a.m. to help with morning hygiene. Then, breakfast, meds, physio exercises, lunch, afternoon meds, and dinner. You'd finish around 8 p.m. Every day, Monday to Saturday, she stays with me on Sundays." Jax mentally calculated the time he would be away from deliveries. It would be a huge financial sacrifice, but if he secured the permanent job, it would quickly pay off. "All right, see you tomorrow then. Good luck, son. You'll need it." That night, Jax told his mother and his sister, Jimena, who was in her 3rd year of nursing at UTS. "Bro, are you sure about this? A week without earning anything could seriously complicate our situation. Jime, if I get this job, it will solve our financial problems once and for all. The salary is 3 times what I earn delivering food." Mrs. Miller was worried about another issue. "My boy, what if this woman is truly impossible to stand? You could wear yourself out for nothing." "Mum, I need to try. Besides the money, I feel like I can genuinely help her. I saw something in her eyes today. It wasn't just anger, it was a deep sadness." Jimena, who had already done hospital placements, gave her brother some important advice. "Javi, patients with spinal cord injuries can get very depressed and aggressive. The best strategy is to always stay calm and try to understand that the anger isn't personal against you." "I'll remember that." On the first morning, Jax arrived punctually at 6 a.m. Kylie was already waiting and took him straight to Adriana's room. She was awake in the hospital bed with an even gloomier expression than the day before. "So, you came back. I thought you'd have changed your mind overnight." Good morning, Mrs. Villarreal. I'm here to work. We'll see. Kylie, explain the procedures and then leave. I want to see if he can manage alone. The housekeeper started showing him how the hoist worked to transfer Adriana from the bed to the wheelchair, how to prepare the bath, and organize the medication. Everything was more complex than Jax had imagined, but he paid attention to every detail. Now, you're going to wash me, Adriana said when they were alone. Sure. Where is the adapted bathroom? In the ensuite. And just so you know, I'm going to critique your every move. The process was genuinely difficult. Adriana complained about the water temperature, the position she was placed in the shower chair, the pressure of the shower head, and even the way he held the soap. You're being too rough. Careful with my arms, they're sensitive too. Sorry, I'll be more careful. And this water is too cold. Do you want me to catch pneumonia? Jax patiently adjusted the temperature. Now it's too hot. You can't do anything right. It took over an hour to complete the bath, which normally took 20 minutes, but Jax didn't complain once. During breakfast, Adriana continued to test his patience. This fruit is cut wrong. Cut it into smaller pieces. This toast is too burnt. Make another one. This juice has too much ice. Take a few cubes out. Each request was met without argument. Adriana watched his every reaction closely, waiting for the moment he would explode or give up. But Jax remained calm and simply solved every problem. When it was time for physio exercises, she invented that she was in pain and refused to cooperate. I'm not doing the exercises today. I have terrible back pain. Do you want me to call the doctor? No need for a doctor. I just don't want to do physio today. All right. What would you like to do instead? The question caught her by surprise. It had been so long since anyone had asked her what she'd like to do. I'd like to be out on the veranda, getting some sun. Perfect. I'll take you there. He pushed the wheelchair to the wide veranda overlooking a well-kept garden. The day was sunny and pleasant, and she requested something to drink or eat. A fresh, unsweetened orange juice. I'll be right back. While Jax was making the juice in the kitchen, Kylie watched him curiously. How is she today? Good. She's sunbathing on the veranda now. Sunbathing? She hasn't left that room in months. How did you convince her? I just asked her what she'd like to do. Kylie shook her head in amazement. When he returned with the juice, Adriana was contemplating the garden in silence. Here you go, Mrs. Villarreal. Thanks. He stood beside her for a few minutes, unsure if he should leave. You can sit on that chair over there, she said, pointing with her eyes to a wicker armchair. Thanks. They sat in silence for several minutes, just watching the birds in the garden. How long have you been working as a delivery driver? She suddenly asked. 4 years, and before that, I worked in construction for 8 years. Why did you leave? The firm went bust during the GFC global financial crisis. A lot of people lost their jobs back then. Adriana absorbed the information without comment. It was the first normal conversation she'd had with anyone in a long time. Do you have family? Yes. My mother and my younger sister. And my dad left us when I was 16. Mum raised us alone. I see. A few more minutes of silence. Do you regret leaving the construction industry? Jax thought about the question. Sometimes, yes. I liked the work. It was tangible. You know, building things that would last for many years. And deliveries don't give you that feeling. It's not essential work, but there's no permanent building of anything. Adriana nodded as if she understood exactly what he meant. I also liked building things that lasted. Did you have a company? I still do. A medium-sized construction firm specializing in social housing. Seriously? Then maybe we've worked on a project together without knowing it. It's possible. For the first time, she sketched something that vaguely resembled a smile. The rest of the morning passed quietly. Adriana made no more unnecessary criticisms and even said thank you when he helped her with lunch. In the afternoon, she asked to be on the veranda again. This time, she asked him to bring some company documents from her office. Do you know how to read architectural plans? A little. I learned the basics on site. Take a look at this one. It was the plans for a social housing development that had been stalled for 2 years. This project looks great because it wasn't executed. After my accident, a lot of things stopped. The partners made the decisions, but they're more conservative. I understand. Actually, they're not conservative. They're incompetent, she said bitterly. Jax sensed he had touched a sore spot. Why bring that up? You don't understand business. Maybe not, but I can understand frustration. When I lost my job in construction, I also felt frustrated seeing projects I helped start being abandoned or poorly finished by other crews. Adriana watched him with renewed interest. And How did you handle that frustration? At first, badly. I'd stew over things that could have been different. Then, I realized that frustration only hurt me and didn't change the situation. And what did you do? I tried to focus on what I could still control. In this case, finding a new way to support my family. As simple as that. It wasn't simple, was it? But it worked for me. Adriana was thoughtful for a long time. Do you think I should just accept that my company will be destroyed by the incompetence running it? I don't know, Missus. Villarreal, but perhaps you can find a way to influence the decisions, even in your current situation. How? I'm still the owner, right? Then I must have some rights. Of course, I have rights. But how am I going to exercise them in this state? She gestured with her eyes towards her body. Your head is still working perfectly, and from what I see, you understand a lot about construction. So, then the problem isn't your ability. It's just a matter of finding the right way to apply that ability. Adriana watched him with an expression Jax couldn't decipher. You're smarter than you look. Thanks, I guess. It wasn't exactly a compliment, but this time she smiled openly as she said it. The first day ended without major conflict. When Jack said goodbye at 8 p.m., Adriana just nodded and said, "See you tomorrow." Kylie accompanied him to the exit. Son, I don't know what you did, but she's different today. I haven't seen her this calm in months. Just keep treating her like a normal person. Maybe you'll actually stick around. The second day started better than the first. Adriana didn't criticize the washing and had breakfast without complaints. During physio exercises, she even cooperated partially. Are these exercises really necessary? She asked. According to the medical instructions. Yes, they maintain circulation and prevent muscle atrophy. Do you understand that? Not much, but my sister is studying nursing and explained some things. Your sister is at uni? Yes, 3rd year. And how do you pay for her studies? Jax hesitated before answering. With a lot of sacrifice. She got a partial Commonwealth scholarship, but still needs to pay a portion of the tuition fees. And you contribute to that? Of course. She's my sister. And your own dreams? You never wanted to study? The question caught him off guard. Of course I did. I always dreamt of studying civil engineering. But when Dad left, I had to work to support the household. And now that your sister is almost graduating, can't you return to your studies? Maybe one day. For now, my priority is making sure she finishes uni. Adriana fell silent for a while, processing that information. You gave up your dreams for your family, for 16 years. Jax had no answer for that. During lunch, Adriana asked an unexpected question. Would you like to see how my company works? I have some documents and plans here at home. Could you show them to me? Sure, if you want. Kylie, bring the folders from the office to the lounge. The housekeeper looked surprised but obeyed. For the entire afternoon, Adriana explained to Jax how the process of building social housing worked. She showed cost spreadsheets, work schedules, and architectural plans. This was my most ambitious project, she said, showing a set of plans. A development of 100 homes for low-income families with subsidized financing. It looks incredible. Why was it cancelled? It wasn't officially cancelled, just stalled for 2 years. And what's the problem? Adriana sighed deeply. The partners think it's too risky. They prefer smaller, more expensive projects with a higher profit margin. But this project wouldn't make a profit. Yes, it would, just less per unit. In return, it would be 100 homes instead of 20. Jax analyzed the figures she was showing him. Based on my calculations, the total profit would be much higher on this project. Exactly. But they can't see it. And you can't make the decision alone. Legally I can, but practically, how am I going to manage a project this size in my current situation? With a trusted team. What trusted team? After the accident, I discovered that most people around me were only interested in my money. Jax perceived the root of the problem. It wasn't just the physical limitation, it was the loss of trust in people. Have you tried identifying people who genuinely care about you, like Kylie, for example? How long has Kylie been working here? 15 years. And she could have left to work elsewhere after the accident, right? She could have, but she stayed. That doesn't mean anything to you. Adriana felt thoughtful. I've never looked at it from that angle, and there must be other people like that. Maybe I just need to learn how to spot them again. Do you think it's that simple? It's not simple, is it? But it's not impossible either. That afternoon, Adriana, for the first time since the accident, spoke about her future plans instead of just regretting the past. The third day brought the first real test. Adriana woke up in a terrible mood and reverted to the aggressive behavior of their first meeting. You took too long to arrive. It's already 6:05. I'm sorry, Mrs. Villarreal. Traffic was heavier today. I'm not interested in your excuses. If you can't be on time, maybe you're not right for this job. You're right. I'll leave home earlier tomorrow. And another thing, yesterday you touched my documents without permission. How so? You showed me the documents. I didn't give you permission to handle my papers. You left everything in a mess. Jax knew this wasn't true, but he didn't argue. I apologize. I'll be more careful. And this coffee is revolting. How can you mess up something so simple? The coffee was exactly the same as the previous days which she had approved. She was clearly testing his patience. I'll make another one, Mrs. Villarreal, and this time, get it right. During the wash, she complained about everything. The water temperature, the shower head pressure, the chair position, even the soap she had chosen herself. You're being careless. You hurt me. Where? How? It doesn't matter where. You need to be more careful. Jax knew he hadn't hurt her at all, but he still checked carefully to see if there was any issue. Stop examining me like an object. Show some respect. I'm sorry, Mrs. Villarreal. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't hurt you. Of course, you hurt me, but you don't care. The situation continued to escalate all morning. Adriana criticized everything with greater intensity than in the first few days. Around 10 am, she finally burst out. Enough! I can't stand you anymore. You're incompetent, careless, and have absolutely no qualification to be here. Jax remained calm, but she continued. Look at you, a food delivery driver who thinks they can care for people. You're pathetic. I understand you're frustrated. You understand nothing. Nothing. You're just another opportunist wanting an easy buck at my expense. Mrs. Villarreal, don't interrupt me. I'm speaking. You thought you could fool me by being nice for 2 days, didn't you? You thought I'd get fond of you and give you the job? Fool. You're all the same. You just want to take advantage of my situation. She was yelling with an intensity that made Kylie rush into the lounge. What's going on here? Kylie, this man is being disrespectful to me. I want him out of my house immediately. The housekeeper looked at Jax, who remained calm despite the yelling. Mrs. Villarreal, but I don't want explanations. I want you gone now. Kylie was clearly confused because she had witnessed 2 days of calm interaction between them. Jax took a deep breath and made a decision. Mrs. Villarreal, you are right about one thing. What thing? She asked, still furious. I really need this job, and you have every right not to trust me. Adriana seemed surprised by the agreement. So, you admit you're only here for the money? I admit money is important to me, yes, but it's not the only reason. And what would the other reason be then? In the last 2 days talking with you, I felt useful in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Useful how? By helping someone not just with physical tasks, but by talking about important things, about projects, about dreams, about life. Adriana fell silent for a few seconds, processing the answer. That doesn't change the fact that you're unqualified. That's true, I don't have a degree, no TAFE course, no professional experience in the area. Then why should I trust you? Because I've been here for 3 days. You've tested me in every possible way, and I haven't quit or lost my patience once. That proves nothing. It proves that this job genuinely matters to me, and maybe deep down, it matters to you too. The last sentence caused a total silence in the room. Adriana stared at him fixedly for a long time with an unreadable expression. I matter to you? Yes, I care. Why? Jax thought carefully before answering. Because in the last 2 days, I saw an intelligent, determined woman who is passionate about her work. A person who built a company to help families like mine get their own homes. And it bothers me to see that person isolating herself from the world because of others' prejudice. What prejudice? The prejudice of believing that just because you're in a wheelchair, you can no longer contribute important things. Adriana visibly became emotional at those words. Do you really think that? I do. Your accident changed your physical situation, but it didn't change your intelligence, your experience, or your decision-making ability. Tears started forming in her eyes. It's been so long since someone saw me that way. Then maybe it's time you started seeing yourself that way again. Kylie watched the conversation, moved, seeing her boss show vulnerability for the first time in 2 years. Adriana was silent for a few minutes, clearly fighting her emotions. All right, you passed today's test. The test was to see if you would keep your patience, even when I was genuinely hard to stand. Everyone else ran away at the first outburst. And if I had left too, then you'd know you were right about me, but I didn't leave. No. And that means maybe I was wrong. It was the first time Adriana had admitted she could be wrong about something since the accident. Kylie, prepare a special lunch. Today, we have something to celebrate. Celebrate what, boss? The fact that I might have found someone I can trust. That afternoon, the dynamic between them completely changed. Adriana began talking about her fears, frustrations, and dreams in a way she hadn't in years. Do you know what my biggest fear is? She asked when they were on the veranda. What? That people look at me and only see limitations. That my opinion no longer matters because my body doesn't work anymore. And you feel like that every day? That's why I get angry when people try to help me, because I fear they see the help as pity. I understand, but helping someone doesn't necessarily mean pitying them. No. Sometimes it's just recognizing that everyone needs support in different areas of life. How so? For example, you need physical help with some tasks, but I need intellectual help to understand the business. That makes us equal in a way. Adriana smiled at that perspective. You have an interesting way of looking at things. I learned it from my mum. She always said we all have something to offer and something to learn. Your mother sounds like a wise person. She is. Would you like to meet her someday? Meet your mother? Of course, if you want to, naturally. Adriana was visibly moved by the invitation. It's been years since anyone invited me to meet their family. Then it's decided. When you feel ready, we'll organize a get-together. I would really like that. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, take a moment to hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. That helps us so much, especially those of us just starting out. Continuing, the fourth day brought a new discovery that would change everything. Adriana was reviewing some documents when she found a folder she had forgotten. Jax, could you help me with something? Sure, Mrs. Villarreal. In this folder are some important papers I can't read clearly. Could you read them to me? No problem. When Jax opened the folder, he found documents that left him confused. Mrs. Villarreal, these documents are about academic donations and scholarships. You can put that aside. It's just old project stuff. No importance. Old project of what? Jax, please, put those papers away. But he had already seen enough to understand something extraordinary. Mrs. Villarreal, you were funding the education of dozens of needy young people. I was, before the accident. And why did you stop? Because I can no longer manage these things directly. But the kids, what happened to them? Adriana sighed deeply. They had to find other ways to cover their studies. Some succeeded, others, I don't know. Jax felt a strong emotion realizing the dimension of her generosity. How many people did you help in the last 10 years? Directly, it was 83 young people. Indirectly, through the social housing projects, it was thousands of families. And nobody knows this? I always preferred to help anonymously. I don't like exposure. Why did you stop the donations? Because I no longer have a way to personally follow up on each case, and I don't trust anyone else to do it for me. Jax understood that he had discovered Adriana's true character. She wasn't naturally bitter. She was someone who had closed her heart due to disillusionment. And if I helped you restart these projects? How? I could be your eyes and legs, visit the beneficiaries, monitor progress, provide detailed reports. Adriana looked at him in surprise. You would do that? Of course. It would be an honor to participate in something so important. But you don't have experience with social work. I don't need to have it. I just need honesty and dedication, and that I can offer. Adriana was moved by the proposal. You know what? Maybe it's time to try again. Where do you want to start? Let's see how those kids who lost support after my accident are doing. Some must need help finishing their studies. Perfect idea. That afternoon, they spent hours organizing old contacts and planning how to reconnect with the former beneficiaries. Jax, do you realize what this means? What? If we manage to reactivate these projects, we're going to change many people's lives again. That's incredible, Mrs. Villarreal. And you know what the best part is? What? After 2 years of feeling useless, I'm finally going to have a purpose again. Tears of joy streamed down her face. The fifth day began with a completely different energy. Adriana was animated and full of plans. She asked Kylie to prepare the study in the house that had been closed since the accident. We're going to turn that space into our operations center, she told Jax. Operations center for what? To manage the social projects and also to follow up on the construction company remotely. You're going to get involved with the building firm again? Yes, I am. I discovered I can manage many things from home, especially with your help. My help? Of course. You're going to be my eyes and ears on external projects. But I don't understand administration. You're going to learn, and I'm going to teach you. Kylie was radiant seeing the boss regain her interest in life. She mentioned to Jax how long it had been since she saw her so cheerful. It's good to see her like this, isn't it? It's wonderful, son. You really worked a miracle here. I didn't work a miracle. I just treated her like a capable person, and that was exactly what she needed to hear. During the afternoon, Adriana called the construction firm for the first time in 2 years. Hello, Alejandra. It's Adriana. Yes, I'm much better. No, you don't need to come here. I just want a video conference meeting tomorrow with all the partners. Jax could hear the surprise in the voice on the other end. Yes, video conference. I need to discuss some important projects. No, it's nothing drastic. I just want to resume my participation in the company's decisions. When she hung up, Adriana was beaming. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. Are you nervous? I'm excited. It's been so long since I felt prepared to face my partners, and now I feel capable of anything with you by my side. The confidence she showed in him was both thrilling and terrifying for Jax. The 6th day brought the first big professional test. The video conference meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Adriana spent the entire morning reviewing documents and preparing arguments. Jax, could you stay here during the meeting? I might need your help with the papers. Sure, Mrs. Villarreal. And one important thing, don't be intimidated if they try to belittle you. They don't know who you are or what you represent to me now. Understood. At 2 o'clock sharp, the computer screen showed 4 people, 2 men and 2 women, all well-dressed and with serious expressions. Adriana, it's great to see you up and about, said one of the women. Thanks, Alejandra. As you can see, I'm much better. We heard you hired a new carer, said one of the men with a slightly suspicious tone. Yes, I did, Federico. In fact, he's here with me. Jax, come and say hello to my partners. Jax walked closer to the camera and waved. Nice to meet you all. The reaction was clearly cold. The partners exchanged looks discreetly. Adriana, can we talk in private? Alejandra suggested. There's no need. Jax is my right-hand man now. Whatever you tell me, he needs to know too. The discomfort among the partners was visible. Very well, said Federico. What would you like to discuss? I want to resume the social housing project that was suspended 2 years ago. Total silence on the video call. Adriana, said the second woman. Monica, that project is too risky. We already discussed that. You discussed it with me when I was fragile and confused. Now I am lucid and determined. But the numbers prove the project is viable and profitable. I can show the calculations again. Federico Carrasco looked uncomfortable. Adriana, are you sure you're in a condition to make such important decisions? The question was like a slap in her face. Jax saw her expression harden immediately. What did you say, Federico? Don't take it badly, but you went through a huge trauma. Maybe it's too soon for what? To use my own head? It's not that. But business decisions demand. Demand what? Legs that work? The awkwardness on the video call was palpable. Adriana, please, don't twist our words, Alejandra said. Then clarify your words. Do you think my mental capacity was affected by the accident? It's not exactly that. It is exactly that. You think that because I'm in a wheelchair, I can no longer make decisions. Jax noticed Adriana was getting very agitated and decided to intervene. With all due respect, he said, moving closer to the camera. May I make an observation? I had the opportunity to analyze this project in detail with Mrs. Villarreal this week. The numbers truly prove its viability. And who are you? Federico asked with disdain. I am Jackson Miller, Mrs. Villarreal's assistant. And while I don't have academic qualifications in the field, I worked for 8 years in the construction industry. Ah, I see, said Monica with a condescending smile. You're from the operational side. That's right, and I can guarantee the project is not only viable but necessary. Necessary, how? Asked Alejandra. There is a huge pent-up demand for social housing in the region. This project would serve 100 families who are currently paying high rent to live poorly. Those are social issues. We are a company, not an NGO, said Federico. That's when Adriana exploded. A company that only cares about maximum profit? That is not the company I want to run. Adriana, don't interrupt me. I'm talking, Monica snapped. When I founded this firm, my goal was always to combine profit with social responsibility. Times have changed, Adriana, argued Monica. Have the times changed, or have you changed? Uncomfortable silence. Do you know what my first project was when I opened the firm? Adriana continued. No, admitted Alejandra. It was 10 small houses for families living in a slum area, like a housing commission estate. The profit was minimal, but it was the project that gave me the most pride in my life. That was 20 years ago, Adriana, argued Federico. So what? My values changed because I had an accident. That's not it. Then explain to me why you think I shouldn't resume this project. The partners exchanged glances again. Frankly, Adriana, said Federico, we are concerned about your ability to supervise such a complex project in your current situation. Your current situation. You can't visit sites. You can't personally monitor the progress. Yes, I can. How? Through Jax. He will be my eyes and legs on the ground. Adriana, said Monica, with forced patience. With all respect to Jax, he doesn't have the qualifications to supervise a project of this size. And you do? Retorted Adriana. We have degrees, management experience, and I have 20 years of practical experience building houses, Jax said, losing his patience for the first time. Experience as a laborer, not a manager, Federico said with contempt. Experience as someone who knows the difference between quality construction and cheap work. Jax Adriana tried to calm him. No, Mrs. Villarreal, they need to understand one thing. He turned towards the camera with determination. You may have the degrees, but I have something you don't have. Real commitment to the work. I'm not here for status or power. I'm here because I believe in the project. What project? Asked Alejandra. The project of giving housing dignity to working families. Families like mine who have dreamed of owning a home for decades. Those are sentimentalities, said Monica. No, that's understanding the real market. You live in a bubble of luxury projects and have lost touch with the needs of the majority of the population. Adriana watched Jax's passionate defense of the project proudly. And furthermore, Jax continued, you are completely underestimating Mrs. Villarreal's ability. She understands construction more than all of you combined. And how do you know that? Federico asked sarcastically. Because I spent a week talking with her about all the technical aspects of the project, and I can guarantee she hasn't lost one bit of competence. Jax is right, Adriana said, regaining control of the conversation. And I'll prove it to you. How about this? I give you 60 days to present an alternative project that is more profitable than the social housing development. If you succeed, I'll drop the social project. If you don't succeed, you approve my project without discussion. The partners looked clearly uncomfortable with the challenge. And if we don't accept the challenge? Asked Monica. Then I take full control of the company and make the decisions alone. You can't do that. Of course, I can. I'm still the majority shareholder. Another awkward silence. We need to discuss this internally, Alejandra said. You have until tomorrow to decide, Adriana said, and she switched off the video conference. When the screen went black, she turned to Jax with shining eyes. Thank you. Why? For defending me. For defending our project. Our project? Of course, we're partners in this now. Jax felt an indescribable emotion. For the first time in his life, he was part of something bigger than his immediate needs. The 7th and final day of the trial week arrived filled with tension. Adriana woke up anxious, awaiting the partner's response. Throughout the morning, she was restless, reviewing documents and doing calculations. What if they reject the challenge? She asked Jax. Then you take control of the company. As you said yesterday, but I'll have the guts to do it. You have the guts for anything, Mrs. Villarreal. How can you be so sure? Because I saw you face your fears this week. I saw you leave the bed for the veranda, get interested in the company again, confront your partners. All of that thanks to your help. No, all of that thanks to your own strength. I only offered support. Adriana smiled emotionally. Jax, regardless of what happens with the company, I'd like to make you an official offer. What offer? I want you to work with me permanently, not just as a carer, but as my executive assistant. Executive assistant. Exactly. You would be my link to the outside world. You'd visit sites, clients, suppliers. You would be my eyes and legs in the business. But I don't have the qualifications for that. You have something better. Honesty, dedication, and the ability to understand people. Those qualities aren't learned at UNSW. And what would my salary be? Adriana mentioned a figure that left Jax speechless. It was 4 times what he earned as a food delivery driver. Are you sure, ma'am? Absolutely. You deserve that, and much more. At 3 p.m., the phone rang. It was Alejandra. Adriana, we discussed your proposal, and we accept the challenge. Adriana and Jax exchanged satisfied glances. Perfect. 60 days starting today. We agree, but we have a condition. What is it? If we win, you stop questioning our decisions for 2 years. And if I win, you let me resume active control of the company without question. Deal. When she hung up, Adriana was beaming. We did it. We did what exactly? We got a chance to prove we are right. And if we don't succeed, then we will succeed. I have absolute certainty of it. Her conviction was contagious. That night, as Jax prepared to leave, Adriana made a moving confession. Jax, this was the most important week of my life after the accident. Why? Because you helped me discover that my life didn't end. It just changed direction. You always had that strength. You just needed someone to remind you. And you did, which is why you are officially hired. Even if your project doesn't work out, especially if it doesn't work out, then we'll need to create an even better one. Jax smiled, feeling his life was about to completely change. Mrs. Villarreal, can I ask you a personal question? Sure. Were you really testing my patience this week? Or were you genuinely angry with me sometimes? Adriana burst out laughing the first time since the accident. Both things. I needed to test you, but I was also genuinely upset about starting to like you. How so? Because I was afraid of being disappointed again. It's easier to push people away before getting attached to them. And now? Now, I decided to take the risk of trusting again, and apparently, I don't regret it. Me neither, Mrs. Villarreal. Me neither. When Jax left the Villarreal residence that night, he knew his life would never be the same. In 1 week, he had found not just a job but a purpose. And Adriana, watching him leave from the window, smiled, knowing she had finally found someone who saw her not as a limited person, but as a person with infinite possibilities. The trial week was over, but in reality, a new life was just beginning for both of them. The next morning, Jax woke up early, but not to work as a delivery driver. For the first time in 4 years, he woke up knowing he had a promising future ahead. When he arrived at the estate, he found Adriana already awake and animated in the study, which Kylie had completely reorganized overnight. Good morning, partner, she said enthusiastically. Partner? That's what I'm calling you from now on. We are partners in this project. Partners? Of course. You will have a share in the profits from the social housing development when it comes to fruition. Mrs. Villarreal, I can't accept that. You can, and you will. It's part of your salary. Jax was still processing the new reality when Adriana announced the first challenge. Today, we're going to visit some of the young people who lost their academic grants after my accident. I want to know how they are, if they are still studying, if they need help, and if they do, we're going to help them. As simple as that. She handed him a list of 15 names and addresses. Start with these. They are the most urgent cases. How do you know they're urgent? Because they were young people in their final year of study when the support stopped. Jax took the list and was moved reading the names and courses. Nursing, education, business administration, civil engineering. These young people might have dropped out when they lost support. Unfortunately, yes, and that has weighed on my conscience for 2 years. Then let's fix it today. Are you sure you can handle that responsibility? I am. And you know why? Why? Because I know what it means to need an opportunity and not have it. I will treat every one of those young people like I would want my sister to be treated. Adriana smiled, knowing she had chosen the right person for the mission. The first visit was to the home of Camila Miller, a nursing student who was in her 5th semester when she lost the grant. Jax found a 2-year-old who had deferred her course and was working as a checkout operator at a chemist warehouse. Do you know Mrs. Adriana Villarreal? He asked. Camila's face lit up instantly. Of course. She paid for my uni for 3 years. When she stopped helping, I thought something serious had happened to her. She had an accident, but now she's well and wants to restart the assistance. Seriously? Very seriously? Would you like to go back to uni? Camila started crying. It's my dream, but I've lost too much time. You haven't lost anything. With a full scholarship, you can return next semester. How can I? By graduating and becoming the best nurse possible. The second visit was even more emotional. Mateo Castillo, a civil engineering student, had managed to graduate even without the aid, working nights and studying during the day. Mrs. Adriana doesn't know, but she changed my life forever, he told Jax. How so? When she started helping me, I said that one day I would build social housing like her. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. Where do you work? In a small firm, but I'm saving money to open my own construction company, focused on affordable housing. Exactly. Inspired by your work. Jax smiled, imagining how thrilled Adriana would be to hear that. Mateo, I have a proposal for you. What proposal? Mrs. Villarreal is restarting a major popular housing project. Maybe you'd be interested in participating. Participating as? As the lead engineer for the build. Mateo was speechless for a few seconds. Are you serious? Completely. It's the job of my dreams. The third visit was the most moving. Sofia Guzman, an education student, had dropped out just one semester shy of graduating. I couldn't pay the last term's fees, she explained sadly. And if you could resume now, that would be wonderful. But I've been stalled for a year. I'd have to start almost everything again. Not necessarily. With the right scholarship and a good educational advisor, maybe we can make use of everything you've already done. Do you think so? I'm sure. Mrs. Villarreal won't rest until she sees you graduate. When Jax returned to the Villarreal estate late that afternoon, he was emotionally exhausted but profoundly fulfilled. So? Adriana asked anxiously. Prepare to cry from emotion. He recounted every visit in detail, watching Adriana become emotional with every story. Mateo really wants to build social housing? He said it's his life's dream. And Sofia has been out of study for a year. Yes, but we can fix that. And Camila? Ready to return to uni next semester. Adriana was crying tears of joy. Do you know what this means, Jax? That we're going to help 3 young people fulfill their dreams. No, that we're going to help 3 young people who will one day help hundreds of others. How so? Camila will be a nurse and care for patients. Mateo will build homes for families in need. Sofia will educate children. That's true, I never thought of it from that angle. That's how good multiplies. That night, Adriana made 2 important decisions. First, she would create a permanent scholarship fund administered by Jax. Second, she would offer Mateo a minority stake in the construction firm, provided he agreed to lead the popular housing project. Are you sure you want to partner with a recent graduate? Yes. Do you know why? Why? Because he has something my current partners lost, passion for social work. And if the current partners get upset, excellent. That will give them more motivation to present a better project than ours. Jax admired Adriana's determination more and more. The next day brought the moment of truth with the construction firm's partners. There were only 2 weeks left until the deadline, and they requested an in-person meeting at the Villarreal residence. Adriana, we need to talk, Federico said when they arrived. I can guess what it's about. We spent a month trying to create a more profitable project than your social housing development. And did you succeed? We couldn't. Monica looked embarrassed, but Federico continued honestly. Your calculations are correct. The social project is genuinely more profitable in the medium term, and we want to apologize for doubting your ability. Adriana was visibly moved. Thank you, Federico. But we have a condition for approving the project. What is it? We want to participate actively in the management, not as supervisors, but as apprentices. We want to learn from you how to do business with social responsibility. Jax and Adriana exchanged surprised glances. Do you really want that? Yes, we do, said Monica, speaking for the first time. I admit I was wrong about many things. And what about Jax? Adriana asked. We'd like to get to know him better professionally, Federico admitted. Excellent, because he will be the overall coordinator for the project. The partners seemed a bit surprised, but raised no objections. One last question, said Monica. How do you plan to manage such a complex project? With an incredible team, Adriana replied. What team? Mateo as lead engineer, Santiago managing the social side, Jax coordinating everything, and you handling the finance and legal aspects. And you? I'll do what I've always done. Supervise everything and make the final decisions from my home. Why not? Technology exists exactly for that. You're right. So, are we agreed? We are, said Federico, extending his hand to Jax. Welcome to the team. Thanks. I'll do my best. We know you will. And so, after a month of tension, the project was finally approved unanimously. The next day, Jax had an important talk with his family. Mum, Jime, I have news. What news, son? Asked Mrs. Mercedes. I got promoted. I'm now the executive coordinator of the construction firm. Jimena's eyes widened. Executive coordinator in 2 weeks? It's a long story, but the important thing is that our financial problems are over. How much will you earn? When Jax mentioned the figure, they were both speechless. Son, are you sure this isn't a dream? I'm sure, Mum. And there's more. More what? Mrs. Villarreal wants to meet you. She wants to invite you to dinner at her place. She wants to meet us? Jimena asked. She does. And Jime, She found out you're studying nursing and wants to chat with you about some opportunities. What opportunities? She's setting up an academic scholarship program for health science students. Maybe there's something interesting for you. Jimena started crying with emotion. Javi, in 2 weeks, our lives have completely changed. Yes, they have. And for the much better. Mrs. Mercedes took her children's hands. Thank God. I always knew you were special, my son. I'm not special, Mum. I just found an opportunity and gave it my all. It's that dedication that makes you special. The following week, the dinner took place at the residence. Adriana received Jax's family like close relatives. Kylie prepared a special meal, and Mateo brought his parents to meet everyone. Mrs. Mercedes, Adriana said, you have an exceptional son. Thank you. I have always been very proud of him, and rightly so. In 2 weeks, he has completely transformed my life. How so? He helped me discover that I could still be useful and happy. Jimena was fascinated chatting with Mateo about engineering and social projects. Are you really going to build 100 homes? She asked. Yes, we are. And each one will be made with a lot of love. Must be exciting seeing the families receive the keys to their own home. That will be the best part of the job. Mrs. Mercedes chatted animatedly with Mateo's parents about the joy of seeing their children prosper. We worked so hard to give them an education, said Mateo's father, Don Manuel. And it was worth it, wasn't it? Mrs. Mercedes replied. It was worth so much. Now it's their turn to help other families. During dinner, Adriana made an announcement that moved everyone. I want to propose a toast. To what? Asked Jax. To the start of a new family. A new family? Yes. You are all now part of my family, and I am part of yours. Mrs. Adriana Jimena was crying. It's true. Alone, I wouldn't achieve anything. Together, we will achieve everything. Everything what? Asked Mrs. Mercedes. We will build homes, train young people, create opportunities, spread hope, and we will be happy doing it, Jax completed. Exactly. We will be very happy. The toast was made with tears of joy in everyone's eyes. In the following weeks, the project took on an incredible dynamic. Mateo finalized the house plans incorporating all of Adriana's and Jax's suggestions. Santiago developed the complete social program for the estate. The lawyers approved all necessary documents. But the most exciting moment was when they began selecting the families to be benefited. We received over 500 applications, Santiago reported during a meeting. And how are we going to choose only 100 families? Asked Jax. With very clear criteria of need and commitment, Adriana replied. What criteria? Family income, the length of time they've dreamed of owning a home, willingness to participate in the community programs, and who will conduct the interviews? All of us. Every family will be interviewed by a full team. That's a lot of work, observed Mateo. Yes, but every family deserves individual attention. The lady is right. For 2 months, they interviewed all the candidate families. They were moving stories of struggle, perseverance, and hope. I never imagined there were so many families dreaming of owning a home, commented Jax. And each one has a moving story, added Mateo. That's why our project is so important, Adriana said. We are not just building houses. We are fulfilling dreams and creating a community, Santiago recalled. Exactly. A community based on cooperation and solidarity. Finally, the day came for the start of construction. Adriana, for the first time in 2 years, left the house to visit the site where the development would be built. When she arrived in an adapted Toyota Land Cruiser, she was thrilled to see dozens of people waiting, the beneficiary families, the construction workers, the project partners. Mrs. Adriana. Mrs. Adriana, the children shouted, running towards her. Hello, children. How are you? Eager to see our new home. You'll have to wait a few months, but it will be worth it. Mateo approached her with an engineer's hard hat, ready to give the first symbolic hammer blow. How so? It's tradition. The project lead gives the first symbolic strike, but I can't hold a hammer. Of course you can. I'll hold it with you. With Mateo supporting her hands, Adriana managed to give the first symbolic strike of the build. The sound echoed across the site, followed by emotional applause. Now the Cimientos de Esperanza Foundation, Foundations of Hope, has officially begun, Jax shouted. Long live Mrs. Adriana, the families cheered. Long live our new home, the children yelled. Adriana was crying from emotion, but these were tears of pure joy. Over the following months, construction advanced rapidly. Mateo personally supervised every stage, ensuring maximum quality in all details. Jax visited the site daily, solving problems and coordinating between the various teams. Santiago organized weekly meetings with the families, preparing them for community living. Adriana followed everything through detailed reports and daily video conferences with the team. "We are 2 weeks ahead of schedule," Matteo reported during a meeting. "How did we manage that?" "Worker motivation. They know they are working on something special. And the families? How are they reacting?" asked Adriana. "Anxious, but participatory," responded Santiago. "The financial education courses have 100% attendance, and the community garden is already operating even without the houses being ready. The families organized to look after the garden beds on weekends. Fantastic. That shows the community is truly forming." "There's news," said Jax. "What?" "Some families offered to help with the construction of the last few homes." "How so?" "They want to volunteer on weekends to speed up the construction even more." "Is that legally allowed?" Matteo checked. "As long as it's supervised volunteer work, there's no problem." "Then, accept the help. It will be another factor in uniting the community." 6 months after the start of construction, the most awaited day arrived, the handover of the first 20 homes. Adriana organized a special ceremony for the key handover. "I want every family to receive their keys in a special way," she said. "How so?" "I want to meet each one personally, to know their names, their stories. It will be emotional. It will be the happiest day of my life since the accident." The ceremony took place on a sunny Saturday morning. Adriana was radiant, in an elegant dress, with her hair specially done. The first family called was that of Don Alberto and Doña Carmen, a couple in their 60s who had spent 40 years paying rent. "Don Alberto, Doña Carmen, welcome to your home." When Adriana handed over the keys, Doña Carmen couldn't hold back her tears. "Thank you, Mrs. Adriana. You fulfilled the dream of our lives." "No, Doña Carmen. You fulfilled your own dream with effort and dedication. But without you, without all of you, this project wouldn't exist. You are the true protagonists of this story." The second family called was Stella's, a single mother with 2 young daughters. "Stella, how do you feel?" "I can't believe it's real, Mrs. Adriana." "Believe it. This house is yours forever. My girls will have a room just for themselves and a yard to play in, and neighbors who have become friends." "Exactly. You are now part of a community." The third family was Alfonso's, a laborer who had worked on the construction of the development itself. "Alfonso, what does it feel like to build your own house?" "Indescribable, Mrs. Adriana. Every brick was laid with love. And now I will look after it for the rest of my life and help the neighbors whenever needed." Of course, we are a big family now. When all 20 families received their keys, Adriana gave an emotional speech. "Dear families, today we are not just handing over houses, we are giving you the foundation to build a better future." Emotional applause. "But remember, a house only becomes a home with love, care, and unity. And we will have plenty of that," shouted a child. "I'm sure you will. And when the other 80 homes are ready, you will help welcome the new families, won't you?" "Yes," everyone shouted in unison. Then I officially declare the first stage of the La Esperanza estate inaugurated. The celebration continued all day with communal food, music, and games for the children. Adriana stayed at the estate until sunset, talking to every family and learning every child's name. "Mrs. Adriana," said an 8-year-old girl. "You are our fairy godmother." "No, dear. I'm just a friend who was very happy to be able to help you. But you made our dream come true. We did it together. Your family also worked hard to deserve this house." "That's true. Mom and Dad worked very hard. And have you been helping them?" "Yes. I look after the community garden every day." "What an important responsibility. Keep it up." "I will. And when I grow up, I want to help other families like you do." Adriana was deeply moved by those words. "I'm sure you will, dear." When she returned home that night, Adriana was physically exhausted, but emotionally completely fulfilled. "How was the day?" asked Kylie. "The happiest day of my adult life." "Why?" "Because I saw 20 families fulfilling the dream of home ownership, and I knew I was part of it. You were the most important part." "No, Kylie. Every person involved in this project was important. Me, Jax, Mateo, Santiago, the workers, the families themselves. But you had the idea. The idea is worth nothing without dedicated people to carry it out. And now we will continue. And we still have 80 houses to hand over." "And after?" "After, we'll start the next project." "What next project?" "I don't know yet, but I know it will be something that will help many people." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I discovered my true vocation in life. using my resources to create opportunities for other people. And Jax discovered his too. He has a natural talent for coordinating social projects. You make a good team. Yes, we do, and together with Mateo, Santiago, and everyone else, we are almost unbeatable. In the following months, the other 80 houses were finished and handed over in groups of 20, always with special ceremonies. Each handover was more moving than the last because the community welcoming the new families was increasingly united and structured. The community center was inaugurated with a library of 2,000 books donated by Adriana, a computer lab with 10 PCs, and 2 rooms for training courses. The community garden expanded and began producing enough vegetables to supply all families, with the surplus being sold at a weekly market that became an attraction in the region. Santiago organized over 15 different courses at the community center, from financial literacy to crafts, IT, and after-school tutoring for the children. Mateo developed a community maintenance system where each family contributed a few hours monthly to look after the estate's common areas. Jax coordinated everything efficiently, solving problems before they became conflicts and keeping Adriana informed of every detail. But the greatest achievement was seeing how the families organized themselves into mutual support groups, looking after each other's children, helping in times of difficulty, and celebrating individual achievements together. A year after the start of construction, the La Esperanza estate was considered a model for social housing across the state. We are receiving visitors from other cities, Santiago reported during a meeting. What kind of visitors? Mayors, housing directors, business people interested in replicating the model. And what do you think about that? I think it's excellent, said Mateo. The more projects like this exist, the better for everyone. I agree, said Jax. We could even create a consultancy to help other councils. Interesting. Adriana, what do you think? I think first we must fully consolidate our project before thinking about expansion. How so? I want to follow these families for at least 2 years to be certain that the community is truly sustainable. That makes sense. And after that? Then we can think about replicating the model in other regions with the same team, with part of the same team, and new local partners in each region. That would be incredible. It would be. But let's take it slowly. First, let's ensure our experiment is a complete success. And it truly was a success. 2 years after the first handovers, the La Esperanza Estate had become a model community. The children had the best school results in the region. The adults had developed small businesses of their own through the training courses. The rate of delinquency in house payments was practically zero. Most importantly, the families had forged bonds so strong that the estate functioned like a large extended family. We did it, Adriana said during a commemorative meeting. What exactly did we achieve? We proved that quality social housing is possible and sustainable, and we proved that community is built alongside the houses. Exactly, Mateo. It's not enough to provide housing. You have to provide belonging. And now, we are going to expand the model. Where to? To 3 cities that have already contacted us. 1 in the metropolitan area, 1 in the outback, and 1 on the coast. 3 simultaneous projects. 3 coordinated projects, but adapted to the specifics of each region. It's going to be a huge challenge. It will be, but we have the necessary team, experience, and resources. Resources too? The construction firm grew so much with our project that we have the investment capacity for the 3 new ones. Incredible how everything multiplied. That's how it works when you do the right thing. Everything multiplies. At that moment, something happened that no one expected. Adriana, who had been doing her physio exercises more intensely for a few months, managed to slightly move the fingers of her right hand. Jax, Mateo, come see what happened, Mrs. Adriana. Look, my hand managed to bend my index finger slightly. Good heavens, exclaimed Jax. How is that possible? Asked Mateo. The doctor said that sometimes emotional well-being can partially reverse some neurological damage. Seriously? The body and mind are more connected than we imagine. And that means maybe I can recover some movement with intensive physio. Mrs. Adriana, that's fantastic. Yes, but even if I don't recover anything more, I already feel completely fulfilled. Why? Because I discovered that I can be useful and happy regardless of my physical limitations. You have always been useful, but I didn't know it. You all helped me rediscover my worth. We only showed what was already there, and that made all the difference. From that day on, Adriana dedicated herself intensely to physiotherapy, gradually recovering some basic hand movements. She never fully regained mobility, but she gained enough autonomy to use an adapted computer and even drive a special car. I want to personally visit all our next projects, she announced. Are you sure? Absolutely. Now that I can move a bit better, I want to be present at every stage. It's going to be exciting. It will be the full realization of what I've always dreamt of doing in life. 2 years later, the 3 new developments were ready, totaling over 300 beneficiary families. The model had been perfected. Besides the homes, each estate had its own primary school, medical clinic, sports center, and even small community businesses. We managed to create a sustainable model for social development, Santiago said during a presentation to interested investors. 400 families, over 1,000 people directly impacted, and hundreds of jobs generated during construction. How many young people have received academic grants through our program so far? Asked an investor. 732 young people, Santiago replied proudly. And the success rate? 91% graduated within the planned time frame. Impressive. And there's more. What? Many returned as volunteers to help other young people, like Santiago, who manages the educational programs. Exactly. And like Mateo, who was a scholarship recipient and is now one of the partners in the construction firm. And the general coordinator, Jax, also came from a family that indirectly benefited from Mrs. Villarreal's housing projects. So, you are creating a virtuous circle? Yes. Helped people becoming people who help. And the financial results? The construction firm grew by 400% in 5 years? 400%? That's right. We discovered that doing things right, and with social purpose, attracts more clients and partners. Incredible. And we are just starting. How so? We have proposals to expand the model to other states. Would you accept? Depending on the conditions, yes. What conditions? That each project maintains the same standards of quality and social commitment. No exceptions. No exceptions. At that moment, Adriana, who was accompanying the meeting, made an important intervention. Gentlemen, I'd like to clarify something. Of course, Mrs. Adriana. Our projects are not just a business, they are a life mission. We understand that. Then, you understand that we will never give up on quality or social commitment in the name of profit. And if that limits expansion, we prefer to grow slowly and do it right than to grow fast and do it wrong. Even if that means lower financial returns, the return that matters most to us is not the financial one. What is it then? Seeing families fulfill the dream of owning a home. Seeing young people graduate and build careers. Seeing communities develop with dignity. That doesn't pay the bills. You're mistaken. That pays the bills and also gives purpose to life. How so? A company with purpose attracts the best professionals, the best partners, the best clients, and that generates profit. It generates a lot of profit, but a sustainable profit based on real value created for society. The investors were impressed by Adriana's clarity of purpose. Mrs. Adriana, we'd like to make a proposal. We're listening. We'd like to create an investment fund specifically to replicate your model nationwide. With what conditions? That you maintain total control over quality standards and social purpose? And the financial return would be split 50-50. Half for the investors, half to reinvest in new social projects. Adriana, Jax, Mateo, and Santiago exchanged interested glances. How many projects would be planned? 50 developments in 5 years. 50 developments? That's right. 5,000 families benefited. And the educational programs would also expand proportionally. We're talking about how many young people with grants? About 10,000 young people in 5 years. The group fell silent for a few minutes, absorbing the magnitude of the proposal. We need to discuss it internally, said Adriana. Of course. How long do you need? 1 week. Perfect. We await your answer. That night, Adriana gathered the whole team at her house for a deep discussion about the future. Team, we've reached a crucial moment. How so? We can continue growing organically at our pace, maintaining total control, or we can accelerate drastically, impacting many more people, but taking on greater risks. What kind of risks? Risk of losing control over quality with accelerated growth. Risk of others making decisions we don't agree with. Risk of the social purpose being diluted in the name of efficiency. But we also have the opportunities. What opportunities? 5,000 families benefited instead of hundreds. 10,000 young people with access to higher education. Thousands of jobs generated, and the possibility of creating a national model for social development. The discussion lasted for hours, with carefully weighed arguments from all sides. In the end, Adriana said, the decision is, do we want to be a local success story or a national movement? And what is your preference, Mrs. Adriana? Asked Jax. My personal preference would be to continue at the current pace, maintaining absolute control. But we are not doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for the people who need help. And from that perspective, the more people we can help, the better. Even taking the risks, we can minimize them with careful planning. How? By creating rigid quality protocols that cannot be altered, maintaining local teams trained by us in each region, conducting regular audits of all projects, and establishing that any deviation from the standard results in project cancellation. Do you think that would work if we are rigorous? Yes. Then, we try it. Let's go. The decision was unanimous. They would accept the proposal, but with very clear conditions regarding quality control and social purpose. A week later, they signed the agreement for the largest private social housing project in the country's history. Are you ready to change Australia? Asked the investor's representative. We are ready to try, replied Adriana. And if it works? If it works, we will prove that it is possible to combine profit with social responsibility on a large scale. And if it doesn't work, then at least we will have tried to make a difference. With that attitude, I'm sure it will work. Us too. And so began the most ambitious phase of Adriana's and her team's journey. In the next 5 years, they personally oversaw the construction of 50 developments in 20 different states. Each project maintained the quality and social commitment standards established in the first La Esperanza estate. Over 5,000 families realized the dream of home ownership. 10,600 young people received academic grants. 20,000 direct jobs were generated during construction. 100 community centers were created. But the most important thing was that the model definitively proved that quality social housing is not only possible but highly profitable when done with competence and purpose. We did it, Adriana said during the ceremony for the handover of the last development in the program. What exactly did we achieve? We proved that another world is possible. Another world, like a world where companies can be both profitable and socially responsible. A world where people from different social classes can work together for a common goal. A world where every person can discover their maximum potential if given the right opportunities. A world where dignified housing is a right, not a privilege. And a world where individual success multiplies into collective success. At that moment, Jax made an observation that moved everyone. Mrs. Adriana, when I arrived at your house 7 years ago, I was just a delivery driver desperate for work. And today, I am the national coordinator of a program that changed the lives of thousands of people. You changed too, Jax. I changed because you believed in my potential when even I didn't. And that's what we did with everyone. We showed the potential that each person has. Exactly. And the result is here. They looked around at hundreds of families celebrating the handover of their new homes, children playing in the community parks, young adults who had graduated with the academic grants, returning as volunteers. Do you know what the best part of all this is? Asked Adriana. What? That it won't stop here. How so? Many of these people we helped will help others in the future. The circle of good will keep expanding forever. Forever. And it truly was forever. Years later, when Adriana had become a national reference in social housing, she received a letter that moved her deeply. It was from one of the first children from the La Esperanza estate, now graduated in architecture. Dear Mrs. Adriana, do you remember me? I am Valeria, who lived in house 47 inches, the first development. Today, I graduated in architecture, and I want to dedicate my career to creating housing projects for families in need, inspired by your example. Thank you for changing my life and that of my whole family. Now it's my turn to change other people's lives. Done, Adriana said to Jax, showing him the letter. The mission is complete. How so? The seed was planted in the next generation. The work will continue even when we are no longer here. And that makes you happy? It gives me peace. I discovered what my purpose in life was, and I managed to fulfill it completely. What was your purpose? To use my resources and abilities to give other people the opportunity to discover their own potential. And you achieved it. I did. And do you know what the secret was? What? Understanding that no one achieves anything alone. I needed you, Mateo, Santiago, Kylie, thousands of people to realize this dream, and we needed you to discover that we could be part of something bigger. Exactly. It was a collective construction. And now, we will continue. There are always more people who need opportunities. Always, always. And there will always be people willing to help, like you were, and like you were to us, like we all were to each other. At that moment, sitting on the veranda, where they had first spoken 7 years earlier, Adriana and Jax contemplated not only the well-kept garden of the Villarreal residence, but the entire transformation they had managed to promote in their own lives and in the lives of thousands of others. Jax, can I ask you a question? Sure. Do you regret leaving food deliveries to work with me? Never. It was the best decision of my life. Why? Because I discovered that I can be much more than I imagined, and I helped other people discover that too. And what if I told you that you were the one who helped me the most on this whole journey? I would say you helped me equally, Mrs. Villarreal. How? You gave me an opportunity when no one else would have. You believed in me when even I didn't. You taught me that I can make a difference in the world, and you taught me that my physical limitations do not limit me as a person. We complement each other. Yes. And together with everyone else, we created something much bigger than any of us could have created alone. What exactly did we create, Mrs. Adriana? We created hope. Hope? Yes. Hope that a better world is possible. Hope that every person has value and potential. Hope that social problems can be solved when people unite with a common purpose. And that hope will last. It will last as long as there are people willing to believe in each other and work together. Then, it will last forever. It will last forever. End of the story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now, tell us what you thought. Do you think Adriana and Jax made the right decisions? Did we manage to convey the message that everyone has potential when they receive opportunities? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories.